right, good evening, everybody.
Hi.
Hi, hello, welcome. My name is Megan Nyesti, and I'm the Higher Education Consultant here at RESA, and part of the Blue Water College Access Network. And we're here to basically help students figure out their plan for life after high school. So it'll come up quick. I know we've got some middle schoolers here, 9th and 10th graders, as well as 11th and 12th, so all different stages, but it's never too early to start thinking about a career or what you want to do after high school. So how many people here are really interested in a career in math? How many of you really like math? Fantastic. How many of you are like, it's okay, but I really want a career with math? Okay, fantastic. Well, we have a great panel here tonight. We've got some wonderful folks here who are all graduates of St. Clair County. So that's pretty exciting. So these are folks who are from this area and who have gone on and used math in their everyday careers. So we're going to hear from them. I'm going to tell you a little bit about math, and then they'll talk, and then we'll have a chance for questions after. So each of you have their biographies in your folders, as well as some other resources. But I'm going to explain a little bit more. So does that sound great? Great. Fantastic. All right. These are just a few cool careers that have come up. So programmer, real estate agent, statistician, actuary. There was a really cool article just this past week about, March Madness. Does anybody have a bracket that they've filled out for basketball? And has anybody gotten their bracket totally busted? Yeah. So there's actually mathematicians who will sit down and work out mathematically how to pick a bracket. So there's no great way for them to pick a perfect bracket, but they say they make it a little bit more likely that they get some more teams right. So again, statisticians, that's what they do. The psychometrician is very interesting. They're a person who does psychometrics, and those are the folks who create college tests. So the ACT, the SAT, that's what they do. They're the ones who are creating those exams and those tests. So I thought that was really cool. That was something I learned today. But interior designer, petroleum engineer, attorney, forensic analyst, all of these different careers use math all the time. Are there any up there that you have not heard of before? The psychometrician, maybe? Yeah, that was one I was like, what is that? How many of you know what an actuary is? Okay, so an actuary is kind of one that's a little, I don't know what that is. So an actuary is someone who basically assesses risk for a living. So they work for insurance companies, they work for all different kinds of places to assess different risks. So yeah, just some other cool things up there. But we're going to hear from some live in-person careers here. So a mathematician is the best job of all jobs. So this is according to the Wall Street Journal. The top 3 jobs are a mathematician, an actuary, and then a statistician. So they're also in the top 15 highest earning jobs all have one thing in common. Those are math skills. So you want to talk about people who are earning a lot of money, if you want to go into a career and make a great living, math skills are where it's going to be. Of the best jobs, 5 of the top 6 are also math related. And when we talk about best jobs, they're talking about jobs that are low stress, high compensation, a lot of autonomy, so you get to kind of work on your own and do a lot of things on your own. And then the hiring demand. So it's not a field that's going to kind of dwindle. It's one that will continue to go. So on average, the median annual income for someone with a math career is $94,000 or so. So that sounds pretty great. Yeah, for sure. So again, that's a median annual income. That's not like where you're going to start going right into your first job after college. But again, that's a pretty strong median annual income. So we're going to get started here with our panelists. What I'll do is I'll have each of them actually just say who they are really quick so you're not wondering who these people are. And then we'll get into kind of more depth. So I guess we'll start here with Kyle.
I'm Kyle Mahaffey. I work for Michigan Mutual, Inc. We're located in Port Huron. I work in Southfield, and I'm from St. Clair High School.
I'm Ben Edwards. I work for a company called CA Hall. It's a big bridge contractor out of Walled Lake, Michigan. And I'm a project engineer slash estimator, and I'm also from St. Clair.
My name's Cody. I'm with Cody Curtis. I'm from this area here, but I work for Advia Credit Union over in Kalamazoo as a member service specialist.
I'm Danielle O'Grady. I grew up in St. Clair. I live here now, but work for an architectural firm out of Bloomfield Hills, Michigan, and I focus in interior design for educational facilities.
Fantastic. So now we're going to hear a little bit more in depth. So we're going to start with Ben right here, construction project engineer from CA Hull. So Ben, if you'd like to tell us a little bit about yourself, how you got to be in your field, what you liked about, using high school to help prepare you.
So my job right now is a cost estimator. I was hired on as a construction project engineer, which as a project engineer I was out in the field on big construction sites every day, managing labor, managing materials coming in and off the job, and managing equipment. So my job had to do with a lot of money, just tracking money, tracking hours that guys were working so I could get them paid, stuff like that. Right now I'm a cost estimator, so what that is every construction company has at least one estimator, and what an estimator does is you get a set of blueprints or plans and you have to figure out how much it would cost to build that project. So like for me, I look at bridges. That's all we do is build bridges. So I look at all kinds of different plans and come up with what I think it's going to cost us to build it, and then as a business we figure out how much we want to try to make on it, and then you add those together, you get your total, and you submit your bid to, for us it's MDOT or the state. Other construction companies, if you hire someone to come into your home and redo your kitchen, they're going to do the same thing. They're going to put an estimate together and give it to submit it to you, and you might have 2 or 3 people give you a quote. They do the same exact thing. So that's what I do.
Okay. So what were some things that you were interested in high school? Did you, take advanced math? Did you know that you always wanted to go into like engineering fields, or?
Yeah, so I always knew I wanted to go into engineering, and I thought I wanted to go into civil engineering. So I took a lot of EP class, math and science classes in high school, and when I was going around to colleges, I was looking at the civil engineering programs. And then I visited the University of Toledo, which is where I got my bachelor's, and they had a construction engineering technology program, which is kind of geared towards the business side of construction. And it's basically civil, but you take more business classes. So that's kind of what led me into my career path.
Okay, so what do you really love about your job now?
It's super flexible, so I get assigned projects to estimate, and I have a deadline. It's like the first Friday of every month is my deadline, and I might have 3 or 4 jobs a month that I'm looking at putting costs to, and it's kind of, I get to work at my own pace. I get to go out, drive to the sites and check out the existing bridges whenever I want. I can, work from home, stuff like that. So that's what I do.
Awesome. So on the flip side of that, what do you find kind of most challenging about your job?
Remembering all the geometry I had to learn in middle school. Because I don't do a lot of hard math, but it's a lot of like geometry and just simple stuff, adding, dividing, subtracting, and I do a lot of analytical work, comparing costs, trying to figure out what the cheapest, best way to do certain things is.
Okay. So aside from the geometry, what math do you think is most helpful in your current job?
Probably trigonometry as well.
Trig?
Kind of lower basic classes, but those build up to all the stuff you're gonna end up taking to college. So it's, if you got those down, you can do well.
Good. Good. Fantastic. Anything else you want to share, like a What's this picture that we have up here?
Pretty cool picture. This was a job I was on this summer. I'm up on it's called a flyover bridge, which is just a big overpass bridge that goes over an interstate. So these two bridges right here are mainline I-75 over in Troy, and then the bridge I'm standing on is a kind of off-ramp that goes over it, which I was probably a couple hundred feet off the ground because I was up in a main basket, and kind of looking down. That's kind of my office for the day.
So your office for the day changes?
Every day.
Every
Pretty
day?
much every day, yeah.
Okay. So definitely somebody who's okay with, something different every day
Mhm.
is a good thing.
Yeah. My days, I'm never doing the same thing twice.
Fantastic.
2 days in a row. So.
And so you like that, you thrive off of that.
Yeah, change, just constant change.
Excellent. All right, well, thank you for sharing. And we'll open up for questions after everyone has shared. So, all right, well, we're going to move on to Mr. Curtis, Cody.
Hello.
So, yeah, tell us a little bit about yourself, Cody, and what you do.
So my name's Cody. I graduated from Northern here, and then I went into St. Clair County Community College, and then now I'm living out in Kalamazoo, finishing my education out there as well. I tend to use math the most because I'm, member service specialist, but a lot of people think of us, loan officer would probably be the easiest way. My girlfriend calls me a loan shark, but that's not what we do. But a lot of my daily job functions, we go through, help members. If they have an issue with their accounts, we're there to help them out. We do some basic accounting, if balancing checkbooks for members and different things. But I use math the most when we're calculating for our loans. So if we're gonna find how much income you have coming in versus how much this loan is gonna put you out.
Yeah, I think I put calculating the terms of a loan.
Right. Yeah. So a big thing there is our debt to income ratio. So we got to make sure that if you have if you're making money, we don't want to put you in a bad situation by giving you a loan. So that's kind of where we start there. But yeah, I started back in 2015 with Advia as a part-time teller. I didn't really know exactly what I wanted to do at that point, so I just kind of started in that position. But the job with Advia, they really love to educate us, and so they'll take us out every couple of months. And they'll take us to different classes, and they really want us to grow. So eventually, through those classes, we learned a lot about lending and credit and different things like that. And eventually, I moved up into a full-time position, and then eventually to my member service specialist position.
So you've grown with this company, and
Oh, yeah.
I know we were talking. Advia kind of started off with.
Right. It was. We started off with 400. Well, when I came in, it was 350 to 400 people in the company, and now we've grown to 500, 550, and it's only been a couple of years. And so they really just they want us to move up. They want us to keep improving on ourselves. So they really focus in on that, and they'll actually pay for a lot of that college expense too if you want to learn outside of Advia as well.
Nice. Okay, so what do you think prepared you the best for working at Advia at a company and kind of changing roles? What do you think helped you the most in high school?
In high school, I had a lot of really energetic math teachers. I'm going to be honest, I wasn't a huge math person when I started. I love music, and I do love music still, but it wasn't until later that I connected the two, that music has a lot of math in it. But I really appreciate the teachers really pushing me through to challenge me on those things. I use a lot of algebra now, just to get with our ratios. Pretty basic level math, but if I wouldn't have learned that, I wouldn't be able to do this for sure. So
Okay.
yeah.
Now, do you want to continue your education specifically in math, or just?
So I have definitely, it's a tough part, because right now I'm doing communications. I've looked into marketing, but I have highly considered switching over to a mathematics career, just because I do love what this company has done for us, and they really, you know, the service piece is a huge part of it too. So I love working with people. So anyway, I can mix the two. Really helps me out there. So.
So what would be the favorite part of your job? Is it working with the people and kind of melding the two?
Yeah. I love working with people. The big thing, I love educating my members, because I had a gentleman that came in this week that had a pretty low credit score, and he really wants to get a house at some point. And a lot of us know that we want to get a house later on in the future, and they know that we want to have a good credit score, but sometimes it doesn't add up how to get both of those. And it's important to know what you have to, build up from to get there. And so, educating our members in that aspect is just, I love it. Especially when you have, you can see on someone's face that it's like, oh, this makes sense now. So.
Yeah, because I know a lot of people tend to maybe shy away from even talking about, money or
Right.
credit scores. I know when I was looking for a house and going through that whole process, so many terms were just the lingo itself, and having, a great loan officer to kind of explain that, put it into I'm a non-math person, but to explain that to a non-math person is really helpful.
Right, yeah, and that's a big thing. I mean, everybody has this anxiety with it, and luckily I'm able to be in a position where I can sit down. We can spend 2 hours if we need to, or longer, in some cases, and really working through things and making sure that you understand it. And I just love that. It's really cool.
So now, what do you find most challenging about your career?
On the flip side of that coin, with the members, not everybody is always super happy about things. So if there's an issue, I love working with members through those issues. But people are angry. A lot of people get frustrated because they don't understand what's going on. And so if you're someone with a lot of financial struggles, it can put you in a spot where you're defensive. And one thing with my communications degree, it's really helped me because I can kind of look back, take a step back, realize you might be having an issue with this. I understand. Sometimes I've even been in the situation that they've been into, and so we can really bring that back and break that down, unpack it, and work with each other to find a thing. But I had one person who was just really upset with me, but we talk on a regular basis now, and it's really understanding that a lot of the issues that might happen aren't really directed at me per se, but something that we need to work with. So.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Anything else to add about how you use math in your everyday life?
The big thing, if you're working in a financial institution like credit union, you're going to be dealing with numbers every day. So it's just important to really, have your basics, know your basics, and keep on with that. And then, the higher level math you get up there, the better you're just going to be with a career. So.
Great.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you for sharing.
Not a problem.
All right, we're going to move on to Danielle O'Grady over here. So Danielle, you want to tell us a little bit about yourself and how you use math every day?
Yeah, absolutely. So again, I'm not somebody who, when I was in high school or in middle school, in your shoes, kind of right now, who knew what I wanted to do. I think from the time I was really little and even getting through to high school, I had a very, strong awareness of the things that I liked to do. So I really liked, art. I really liked being creative. I really liked imagining, going out in the backyard and building little cities out of dirt. And that always kind of carried through. And even getting into high school, I loved the art classes the most, but I was also really good at math, and it kind of came easy to me. And even when I started going to college, I went to Saginaw Valley University, and I didn't really know what I wanted to study, and it kind of took a year for me to say, hey, I think I have an idea now. So I was somebody who was a transfer student. I didn't get it right the first time, and I don't think a lot of people get it right the first time. So I ended up going into the field of architecture and interior design. I went to Lawrence Technological University in Southfield, who has a really pretty well-known architectural program, and that was important to me if I was going to invest in a college education. Like, I wanted to go somewhere that that was really serious or credentialed, I guess, in what I wanted to do. It wasn't the typical college experience where you're like out in Ann Arbor or Lansing, East Lansing, but I still had a great experience there. I got to connect with a lot of people that I'm still friends with now, and even on a professional capacity, we cross paths a lot. And what I really, once I kind of got exposed to the program and started learning more about the types of classes I was taking, it was that cross-section, I think, of art, design, and math that just, like, blew me away and, like, yes, this is what I want, this is me. So I think that kind of helps me determine what kind of job I wanted to have as an individual, but also for me right away, it was super important to get working, to try to find a job, find an internship, and that's what I did in my second year, was I got a job at an architectural firm that was local to the university, and it was super entry level. I didn't know nothing. A lot of it was, you know, dropping off proposals or making coffee, but I got to get exposed to a lot of things early on, and started to build connections, and I think that was some of the greatest experience that I had during my college years, was that actual hands-on experience in a firm, in a working environment. The firm that I worked for first was one that specialized in public work, like doing fire stations and police stations. And I really found a lot of value in that work when you're working for the public sector, using public money on projects that were really well appreciated and valued by communities at large. And that kind of helped push me into educational design. And in educational design is where I feel like I developed a career. And that meaning, and finding meaning behind the skill. You're investing a lot of time and money, obviously, into your education and leading up to your college career. And then even as a working professional, I mean, you're in the office with your coworkers often more than you're with your actual family or kids, which I have 3 boys at home. So it's a really, really busy life. But I think if you can find meaning in you know, how you're applying maybe some of those mathematical skills or things that you actually really like doing, you really never will work a day in your life. I mean, that's how I feel.
So when you say educational design,
Yes.
what does that actually mean?
Yep, so my job day in and day out is to help design and build school environments. So let's see, like Port Huron schools right now. Is anybody here from Port Huron? Okay, cool. Port Huron right now is going through a bond program, they call it. So they're investing a lot of money into upgrading each one of the schools, right? Are you in middle school?
Yes.
What middle school?
Fort Gratiot.
Fort Gratiot. So pretty soon you're going to get some renovations at your building that are going to support educational classes in STEM and STEAM and science. And so those are the types of environments that I help do the blueprints, you know, that get looked at and estimated on, and draw those drawings. We go and measure existing spaces, come back, draw it, lay it out, and then start the fun part of imagining, well, what could it be if we moved this wall or that wall, if we painted this. So there's a good amount of math, and then you're also budgeting. So the whole time, you know, you're given a budget to execute the project, and you've got to be on budget. You've also got to select and specify materials that meet certain testing requirements. And so a lot of, you know, you've got to be aware of, well, this flooring material has a certain PSI. Does anybody know what PSI is? Do you want to answer?
Yeah, what do you
is
think
it?
it is?
Pressure.
Pressure?
Yeah, pounds per square inch, right? Right? Am I right?
Yeah.
Right.
I'm like, don't look at me.
Yeah, right. But yeah, so then you have to be able to compare materials and say, well, I really like this one because it's super cool looking, but is it really a better performing product? So there are a lot of layers, I feel like, of math and knowing testing measures. And no, I'm not an engineer, but I have to talk to engineers every day. And I've got to understand when they say, well, we can't raise the ceiling that high because we need this beam and da-da-da-da, and I have to say, yeah, okay, I got it. But you do. You got to have that background information in order. You can be artistic and you can have all these ideas, but if you can't execute the ideas, what's the point? So.
Fantastic. So you really love, again,
Yeah,
working
can
with
you
people,
tell?
again, combining that art and math
Yes.
and all together in one.
Yeah.
What do you find challenging about your job?
I think the one challenging about my job is like knowing when to stop, right? Because we all have requirements from even just our projects have requirements, but then as a business we have requirements too. We have deadlines, we have time frames, we have so many resources that we can allocate, and when you're having a lot of fun doing what you do, you just never want to stop. So kind of that budgeting, planning, kind of inserting, I guess, like a framework over top of these fun projects and things that you get to do can often be pretty challenging.
So was there anything in high school that really kind of helped prepare you for your job today?
Yeah, I think just exposure to a lot of different things and finding what do I like most. I mean, the math classes definitely helped, but certainly there's a whole big, huge world out there beyond that. So
Definitely. And I know you sent us some
Yeah.
photos.
I'm a super visual person,
Yeah.
so obviously, so I sent some stuff of just kind of a typical project, when we say educational design, like this little, you can probably barely see it, but a detailed drawing is actually kind of this floor pattern that runs through a corridor of a school. This is a school in Perrysburg, Ohio, which is really emphasizing very forward-thinking, very progressive curriculum, and a lot of unique spaces we developed. Like this picture on the bottom left is kind of this big, huge green writable wall. You could see the teacher kind of pulled the student out and said, let's go over, some fractions and things like that. So I think, when you talk about schools, students coming up, and maybe even a lot of you are getting exposed to so many different opportunities and things that we weren't exposed to as students, and I think that's really great.
Yeah, and then I think I have.
Yeah, and then these were just a couple of hands-on. We work with a lot of materials. We're down on the floor, kind of trying to come up with some flooring materials, and then I think it's also important too. We get a lot of these communication opportunities too. So as a professional, you're not just doing your job all the time, but you've also got to be kind of selling who you are and selling your skills and making sure you have a job to come back to the next day. So while often it's really scary, I think, to be somebody who's even, you might not want to talk about math, but talking about math is important if that's something that you're interested in.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. So now we'll hear from Kyle. Am I happy?
Yep.
All right. Kyle, tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do.
So I'm Kyle. I lead the capital markets group at Michigan Mutual, which is basically a finance portion of mortgages. So I guess I'll kind of start how I got to this spot.
Yeah.
So growing up, I didn't care. I had no idea what I wanted to do. All I cared about was football. That's it. I was competitive, so I was a 4.0 student. School was easy, but all I cared about was athletics. So played football through high school, got my 4.0, got a scholarship to play football, went to Grand Valley to play football, took the ACT. I got in the high 30s on math and around the 20s on everything else. So I'm like, okay, I'm good at math. Let's go this route. Kept playing football. Got an accounting and finance degree, got done, and I'm like, okay, what do I do with this thing? I didn't do anything you guys are doing, trying to look and see what's out there. So had a degree, no idea what to do with it. So after I graduated, I started looking around. I went and interned. The one spot I could was for Senator Pavlo which is politics. I hate politics, and I'm in an internship with politics. So after a few months of that, found a job being a financial advisor. I'm like, that sounds cool. I like money, good with math, let's try this out. It ended up being all sales. I'm not good at sales. So I liked the idea of it, you know, the money was good, but I'm like, this really isn't for me. And then I found Michigan Mutual, and it's more operations, where I go and I basically, so I set interest rates for the company. You go to buy a mortgage, you need an interest rate, I'm the one that sets those interest rates. I hedge the pipeline, so there's a lot of statistics in my job. Me and my coworker were laughing because his second day working with me, he had to do algebra. He's like, holy cow, I never thought I'd have to do algebra in my entire life. I'm like, yep, you're gonna be doing a lot of math. So there's a lot of that incorporated, there's a lot of risk management, and then I also sell the loans to an end investor. So there's a lot of number crunching. Where do I get the biggest bang for my buck? So it can be called a secondary marketing group as well. So if you think eBay, somebody's buying something here for A, and they're selling it here for B. So you're trying to make money on the secondary market, same with, tickets or anything like that. That's my job, is to find where you get the best bang for your buck with people's loans. So I guess that's where I am right now. I manage, the group. I started off in there as a lock desk. I didn't even know what it was at first. I had to read a book, took an interview. I'm like, I can do this. After that, I worked my way up, and then after 5 years, now I run the department. So that's kind of how I went, but I had no idea what path I was going to go. I kind of got lucky and ended up doing exactly what I like to do, kind of out of the whim. But so that's how, basically where I am right now.
Okay. And now Michigan Mutual is on the smaller side of mortgage companies, as opposed to, I know we talked about like a Quicken Loans, which you hear about and see all the time. And
Yep.
you were basically, with your job, it's...
Yep, so Quicken Loans is, as far as loan size, they probably do about 40 to 50 billion a month. We do about 1 to 2 billion a year. So the size it's drastic how much bigger they are. That being said, with my company, there's 2 of us, and just the 2 of us, how many job functions we do that a big company would do, they have 6 departments with about 60 people doing what me and another kid inside our department do. So when I'm hiring on this kid, I told him, I go, it's a smaller company, which usually they can't pay you as much as a smaller company, however you learn way more. And that's something I would rather do off the get-go because, what do you really know until you're in it, right? So literally everything I do, and when I talk to one of my buddies at Quicken Loans, he's like, what do you mean? He presses a button all day. That's basically what he has. They make him very good at one thing, where I know the business as a whole, because I need to, because we're so small. Everybody wears more hats, everybody's got to do more, everybody's got to know more. So, at least starting off, it's definitely helpful to really, really learn the industry, learn, what you like, what you don't like. With my job, when I see job boards, I can immediately cut out, I wouldn't do any of that. But these 2 jobs I would do, I could do those. Where somebody else, they just see a job and they'll want to go do it without really knowing, kind of learn on the spot. But I know every single function because it's a smaller company. You really get a good, grasp on how it works.
So you like that part of your job? Is every day is probably different?
I wouldn't say different, but you're interacting with a wide group of people.
Okay.
So I talk anywhere from the CEO of the company to our sales team to our disclosure team. I literally, every single department, every single level, I interact with on a day. Where at a big company, you interact with the boss and the person underneath you. So you have 2 people you're talking to on a daily basis. Where I could talk to everybody in my company in one day. So that part of it, I think.
Yeah? So what do you find challenging about your work?
I think the most challenging spot is staying motivated, because growing up you always have a teacher, a coach, a parent kind of pushing you. This is what you do next, this is what you do, this is what you do next. And as soon as you're in that field, it's kind of like, okay, now you're on your own. You have to keep growing as an individual. You have to find ways to, find new ways to make money for the company, depending on what you do. So I think the most challenging part is trying to stay motivated, try to find the next thing, make yourself better, really.
Yeah, motivating yourself as opposed to having, like a coach or somebody there being like, this is what I need from you, come on, let's go. So
Exactly.
yeah, that can definitely be challenging.
Mm-hmm.
So you talked about, high school came pretty easy to you. Was there anything like, even in your sports, like how did, being on a sports team in college kind of help you, if it helped you? Did it help you, I guess?
Yeah, so obviously, as I was saying, I didn't use high school very well to better myself in the future. I missed out on all that. But I guess kind of same along the lines of that motivation, playing college sports versus high school. High school's fun, it's camaraderie. Everybody's pushing you, everybody's making you better. As soon as I got to college sports, everybody's playing for your position. Kind of how it gets in real life. Everybody wants your job. So if you make a big play, they're not cheering with you. They're mad because they want that spot. So it's kind of like the same in the workforce when
Super competitive.
you're pushing yourself. It's competitive. Everybody wants this spot. I have other people that want my job. So I think just the aspect of I think that part of it kind of helps to you don't always have everybody pushing you up. Like you gotta keep going on yourself, by yourself. Mm-hmm.
Excellent. All right, fantastic. So I have a couple questions for all of you, and then if you have questions, definitely we'll get to those too. But I'd love to know, what was one thing in your college experience that you really use a lot today, or that you think set you up for great success later on? Any specific thing in college that you did? We'll just start with you, Kyle, again.
Sure. So the biggest thing for sure is internships, hands down. That's the one thing I always kick myself, because internships, usually during the summer, so you're not busy anyway, and a lot of times they pay you, and you get to learn, you get to learn what you're getting yourself into, what you like and what you don't like. So really, I would push for, even your freshman year, find an internship. Sophomore year, find a different internship. Really use internships in most colleges. Especially if you want to, they help you. You'll get an internship. All colleges are there to help you. That's their main goal, is to get you a good job that promotes their college. So it really is, I would say internships is by far the biggest thing that you're going to want to do.
Yeah, most college campuses will have a career services office, or even within the department or the major, like the business department, they can help set you up with some type of a work internship, etc. So definitely. Great point. How about you, Ben?
I would agree. Piggybacking off Kyle, I did 3 internships while I was in school. They're pretty much required through Toledo. If you're in an engineering degree program, you have to do 3 before you can graduate. But they were awesome. I got paid. I did 2 in Toledo, so I didn't have to go very far. And then I did 1 out in Portland, Oregon for a summer, which was awesome. It was like 3.5 months. And I made money and got to go explore the West Coast, and it was really cool. But going out there, I was working for a mechanical construction company, and I learned that that's definitely not what I want to do. So it was a great learning experience, and it kind of honed me in on what I wanted to do after I graduated.
So you wouldn't have known, mechanical construction unless you did that internship.
Right.
So it was probably good to know before you went out to the workforce, right?
And then another thing I did while I was at school, I joined a construction estimating team, and we did a couple competitions every year, which was amazing because it's exactly what I'm doing as a career right now. So it was like a 2-year head start on anybody else that's graduating coming here.
Didn't your team win a national championship too,
We won a state championship.
A state championship? Okay. But you probably could have won a national one.
Yeah, probably.
So again, out of all these teams, again, you're in the state of Ohio.
Right.
You're beating out, Ohio State. You're beating out Ohio University, all these other places. So very cool. Excellent. And Cody, how about you? What experiences? I mean, you said you started here at SC4, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I started here, I think, in my position right now, one of the college teachers here, and I feel so bad I can't remember his name, but he was my psychology teacher. General education classes, you're going to take them. And the psychology class, I just love the idea of that, but he really helped me kind of understand like where people are coming from. And then while I went over in Kalamazoo, I took another class in communications. That was a big thing. So you mix the two, and working together, with our members, that's a big thing to let me take that step back and actually, see how they're, experience how they're feeling and realize that. And it's really helped build a lot of relationships with different members. And so I've got a lot of great people that come in, and they just want to come in and see me. So it's nice. So that's really helped. So
good. Yeah, I recommend everyone take a psychology course and a communication course, because again, knowing how people work can always help in any career, I think. But how about you, Danielle?
Yeah, I definitely agree with the recommendations earlier about internships and getting a job or getting work of some kind, because I think that hands-on experience is the most valuable. But to add to that, I guess too, there were some things that were really easy for me getting through college, and there were a lot of things that weren't easy. There were a lot of things that are really, really hard. Like I had to take structural engineering classes and environmental engineering classes, and those things were not easy. Even easy to just do okay in. So I think the more that you can start thinking about and preparing yourself and knowing that it's going to be really hard work to do well in college, I think that's super important to be aware of and ready for. And then when you're in situations where you're maybe having a hard time or you're not doing as well as you hope, that you ask for help of other people. Don't be afraid to ask help of your parents or the resources that you have available at your schools, like career offices or counseling offices or tutors, because you want to be efficient, or not necessarily efficient, but you want to make the most of your experience in college. And it's okay, if something's not immediately clicking for you. So
Definitely. Yeah. So what is one thing you wish somebody would have told you when you were in high school about your job now? Anybody?
I just think in general, keep adding on that, I think just in general, trying to make a job and a family and a career and all these things work is, again, really, really hard work. And I wish somebody would have told me, that, it's going to be okay, but to lean on, your friends, family, and your coworkers and your fellow students to get through things.
How about you, gentlemen? Anything you wish someone would have told you before you got into this field?
I wish someone told me that college was going to be the best time of my life, and then after that, it's all down.
Because you would have done college a lot better, right?
Yeah,
Taking an extra 2 years, 3 years.
Yeah, I did it 4. I'm like, I'm out of here in 4. I'm done. And then I was out, and it just ended so abruptly, and it's just what happened? Because I have to work.
I have to work now? Yeah, it's definitely a unique time in your life of, going to class and maybe living where you're going to school and doing all these things kind of on your own. And that's, again, a totally different experience than what you're used to in high school, where everything's so regimented. You're there Monday through Friday from this time to this time, and when you go on and pursue post-secondary education, it's usually you get to kind of pick and choose what you would like to study or what classes you would like to take or what training you want to be a part of. So yeah, I agree with that. That's why I'm a higher ed consultant. I love college so much that I just keep on working with it. So.
Very jealous.
Cody or Kyle, anything?
I would say pretty similar to what he's saying, just as far as, because as soon as you do, get through college, if you go past college, as soon as you're done and get your degree, now it literally is working for the rest of your life. Like, you might as well spend time really, figuring out what you want to do, however that takes, if it's more school, if it's, extra internships, however you want to do it, really find out what you like, because at least from all my friends that are all kind of in that same spot where I am, where I really ended up enjoying what I did. I could do this for the rest of my life and be completely content. I have some buddies making close to $200,000 a year that are miserable. They don't like what they're doing. They go to work, they're like, this is awful. I work 80 hours a week. I don't have family time. So it's really finding, you know, don't chase a number. Chase what you want to do, where you want to be. Do you see yourself, you're with that company 60 hours a week more than your family. You got to like where you are. So I think really finding out where you want to be rather than chasing a number or chasing a job.
Great.
I agree. You know, just explore your options. You've got time now to do that, especially with college. You can go in, you can take different classes. You know, some classes, you know, they might, you might need them for this career, but if you can think of something that you might also be interested in where you can take that same class and use it for a different career path, explore that. You know, that's what my girlfriend did as well. I mean, she liked one job at first, or liked the idea of something, that she changed her job because she had a great experience with a different thing. And it's okay to, you know, use that and do that.
Yeah, I think definitely the message is certainly it's okay to change and maybe change different interests, but definitely finding out that what your strengths are. I mean, you're doing it right now by coming to these presentations. This is definitely something that will help you. I know, did any of you have something like this when you were in high school, or?
No.
That I can remember.
Okay.
Wish we would have.
For sure.
So you're all super lucky for being here. So at this point, I'd like to open it up to some questions if the audience has anything. Any, you know, questions for individuals, questions for all of them. Really, this is about you and, you know, what you want to know about. And we have the honor of having these four very talented folks here. So who wants to be the brave first one? Yes.
So this is for everyone. So, like, going through high school and college, you have like a lot of filler classes like that you don't even remember. Like, I don't even remember what I took sophomore year, except for like the big important classes that you still like think about now. So like, what were those big important classes that you feel like, oh yeah, I do that every single day?
Great question.
It definitely depends on what you're going into and what college you go to. So if you go to like if you go to Michigan, they're gonna make you take foreign language and, you know, humanities courses and all kinds of different stuff that you probably don't really want to take. But if you go to like a Lawrence Tech, you will have to take some of those, but you also get to pick a lot of more specialized classes that probably do interest you and they're more geared towards your field. So looking at college you are going to go to is a big step on kind of minimizing those classes, but also some of those classes that you don't think you're going to want to take or you don't think you're going to like end up being the ones that you really do like. So, Mary?
Yeah, for me, the class that we kind of had every year was a 7-8 credit hour per semester class, which was a studio scenario where it's really like that hands-on project-based learning where we were given an actual kind of project at the beginning of the semester and you kind of worked at it all the way through. I think that really simulated very much what I do on a daily basis now. So the ones that are, again, really those project-based and are very applicable. I would advise, being somebody now that gets faced with a lot of issues relating to technology, I would say if you are offered with opportunities for electives in technology or computers or software training, technology is just, in my field anyways, is always such on the cutting edge. And I just graduated from college in 2009. And I'm already getting faced with an opportunity where maybe the big software programs that I learned are almost becoming irrelevant. So I'm in a phase where I've really got to start to relearn a lot of these computer things, software things, and I would say that's a great skill even as a new graduate when you're coming out of college. If you're right there on the cutting edge of what's the latest software programs, what's the technology, that will be a great kind of selling feature for you going in to get a job.
I would say, you know, I was really apprehensive to take a communications class. Public speaking, I feel like it's I think that was maybe the #1 fear in the world.
It is.
Yeah, and I think next one might be spiders or something.
Yeah. #1 fear, more than death, is public speaking.
So I think it was they would much prefer to have be in the casket versus doing the eulogy is what they would say. That's what my communications guy told me. But it's something that I use like every day. It's something that got me to feel okay coming here and talking to different students and everything. And it's just one of those classes that I just didn't want to do anything with, but I learned a lot from it. And I think it's important just to like go to those classes with an open mind. Try and learn as much as you can from those, and if that's a skill that'll help you in any job. If you're open to new ideas, it's gonna help you.
And being able to communicate those ideas
is also
to
very
other
important.
folks. And even like you said, if you have to talk to engineers, and so knowing the technical background, but then also being able to articulate that to other folks, perhaps.
Yes.
So, okay. And now, how about you, Kyle? Is there
Definitely the
big
same
class?
type of thing, because I went to a liberal arts school, so we had to take everything, art, history, all this, and I wasn't interested in that type of stuff, history or art or theater or any of that. I didn't enjoy it, but still to this day, I'll interact with people, because as soon as you're in the organization, you get all realms of people. So you actually can talk, somewhat about each of these topics. So even though you might not enjoy it, you got to make it through the classes, you end up bringing stuff like, oh yeah, I remember learning that. Like, even if you don't necessarily enjoy it. But to piggyback her point, really technology, if you, take technology courses, that's what's going to rule the world. Even still today, I'm like, oh, like all this technology is coming. I'm like, I had opportunity to learn all this stuff, in school. Now I got to find a way to learn it on my own. They don't just have courses to learn this stuff. So definitely technology, even if you're not going into it, learn as much as you can about it. The new software, new programs, all that stuff. It's definitely going to be useful, no doubt about it.
Did any of you have minors in college, or that weren't related to your major?
I did a dual degree program, so where I went in and I thought, okay, interior design is where I really want to specialize in, but I got they had a dual program of a bachelor's in interior design and then architecture at the same time. And so I did that program, and that has really helped me in again, that communication and working with my teammates and having a broad, I feel like a broad understanding of the field in total. So I have found a lot of benefit out of kind of a dual or extended kind of degree program.
Yeah, I got a business minor.
Business minor, okay.
And the reason I did that was because in engineering, it's a lot of guys. So you sit in a class with 50 dudes and no girls. So you gotta go to business college to find some girls. So that was the reason. But also, because I did that, it set me up for my MBA, which I'm currently pursuing at Toledo. And because I got the minor, some of those classes counted towards my MBA, so I graduated with half of an MBA.
So you're already halfway, you graduated basically with half your master's already done.
Right. So minors are really great if you can leverage them correctly.
Yeah. Cody, Kyle, did you have?
Well, honestly, I'm still going through. I'm paying out of pocket, so it's one of those things where, I don't have any student debt, which is nice.
Awesome.
But, I'm still working on it. So yeah.
Is there something that you'd like to add on now, you think, after kind of being in your field for a little bit? Or?
That's the thing. I have really thought about going into, really anything, accounting even, which I never thought I would ever speak those words. But, because it's just kind of, it's really caught my interest, and I think this could be one of those jobs where I'm like exploring my, different things, and I've found to really enjoy it. So it's important to go out and explore.
Definitely.
Yeah, so I did a double major actually in accounting and finance. I don't know how much it helps me because they're so similar.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you, like, well, what's the difference between accounting versus
Exactly.
finance? Yeah.
So, I mean, there's different avenues you can go with each degree, but they're pretty similar. But like some of my friends that are in finance, one of them's other major is writing, and another one, his other major is foreign language, Spanish, which both work very well with the finance degree because there is, there's a lot of different cultures and whatnot in the business industry. So both of them have been able to leverage those very well. They actually work well together. So that's not necessarily doing two majors that are similar because you're already learning it in one. So take a chance on something else, something you enjoy maybe, which is more useful, I think.
You call that diversification, right?
There you go.
Yeah. Diversify your portfolio.
Yes.
Wonderful. What other questions do you have for our lovely panelists? Yes.
If there was anything that could have helped you a little bit more in high school to get maybe like in a better position, what would that be? Or like maybe to help you a little more in your careers, what would that be?
I wasn't one who really focused on like things like this. I didn't pay attention to when they were telling us, hey, you have these resources. A lot of these things weren't out available for us, or for me when I was going through or high school. And so I was also more focused on music, like playing music. So it was just one of those things where I didn't use that opportunity to get the help from people during that time, and I really wish I would have. So.
One of the things I wish I knew more about when I was in high school that I feel like would have helped me, going back to the student loan comment, if you were chuckle a few minutes ago, was when I was a high school student, I really didn't feel like I had any kind of awareness of what it meant, kind of jumping into a college education and understanding when you sign a line, kind of what that means. And so if you are somebody who's looking to go out and pursue a 4-year, plus degree or even 2 years, but you need to get loans, start talking about that and researching now and take advantage of maybe you don't know what you're going to do, and so maybe you should go take a couple classes at SC4 instead of jumping into Michigan State or something like that. So I think from a long-term perspective, I wish when I was in high school I knew a little bit more about what it actually meant to pay for college.
That's a great point.
So, yeah.
Yes, because it's thousands upon thousands of dollars. I think average student loan debt in Michigan, just these past couple years, is like $32,000. So it's an investment.
Yeah,
it is
an investment, and it's worth. I mean, I personally found it's worth it.
Oh, yeah.
It's totally worth it. But you just got to understand the ramifications.
It's definitely scary, but it's not the end of the world.
No.
I've seen a lot of people when dealing with credit, they have these student loans, and yeah, it's scary, but with deferment and everything, it makes it a lot easier. And once you're getting that education and you're getting the jobs, and they're going to help pay those off. And there's a lot of different programs that you can take to actually help pay off that loan debt. So
yeah, and I always recommend to students also, if you are looking at some different schools, and maybe one school is going to offer you maybe full ride, full tuition, and then another school that maybe has a more recognizable name is only going to offer you, not even a scholarship or anything. You may want to consider, maybe I should go to this lesser known school because they're going to give me all the money and I can use that to my advantage. So again, just being open-minded to all these different opportunities that are out there for you. And I think getting involved in anything that you can will set you up for success as well. So anything else you guys want to add, Kyle and Ben, to that?
Yeah, one thing I wish I would have paid more attention to was my Spanish class. I took 2 years of Spanish, and I know hardly anything. But at least half of my workforce, guys in the field that I have to communicate with, Spanish is their first language. They are from Mexico, and they're smart as hell, but I don't know what they're saying.
Yeah.
And
It's a barrier.
It is a
to
barrier.
try to communicate. Yeah.
So I mean, I took 2 years because I thought I wanted to go to like Michigan State or something like that, and that was one of those prereqs that you kind of need. Ended up not going, but I wish I would have paid attention because it would have helped a lot.
Would have helped you. Maybe break out that old Spanish book now.
Dude, it's gone.
It's gone. All right. Anything, Kyle?
I don't think so. I think they kind of covered it.
Yeah.
Basically, stay involved. The more you're involved, the more you know, the better off you're going to be.
Wonderful. All right. Other questions? I have another hand. Yeah, go for it.
How hard is it to work up in your business, like to move up?
So how hard is it to move up in your business? Is it difficult to kind of be promoted, or?
I mean, for mine, it's like I said, I started off as a part-time teller. You know, that next year I was a full-time teller, and then they really kind of, you know, they like to, you know, move people up in their company. So I think it depends on where you're working.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, in the position that I'm in right now, it would be, you know, there's so much to learn. So you really have to focus in on that and make sure you take some time. But I mean, for me, it was 1 year for the part-time teller, 1 year for the full-time, and now I'm here. So.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's definitely what company you work for.
Right.
With the small one, you get to be more aggressive and kind of move at your own pace. So I got 4 promotions in 1 year. It's other companies. One of my friends works for Chrysler, which is a massive company. He gets a promotion every 2.5 years on the dot. Every 2.5 years promoted. So it doesn't really matter what you do within. You get a promotion every year. So it kind of depends. The size of the company is going to be a big factor. And then within those companies, if you excel, you can get promotions quicker depending on where you are. But definitely the organization, I think, has the biggest role.
I think one of the easiest or best ways to help you get promotions is to be able to find like pockets of where I'm the only person here who can do that, you know, or I'm somebody who knows all aspects. So if somebody else is gone, hey, I can, you know, fill in for them. So being aware of, again, once you get into your job or your career, like what are the things that I'm really good at, or I'm the things that nobody else here is able to do, and try to just be self-promoting those. And I think that's a good way to find yourself kind of moving up the ladder.
Great question.
Yeah.
I definitely think it depends on the company that you work for, and just how it's structured. Because, like you said, at Chrysler, maybe it's okay. We know that every 2.5 years I'm going to get this promotion. Versus at another place, you may have to really work hard to kind of get to that. So I know Ben, you just started doing the forecasting and stuff, or?
Yeah. So I graduated 10 months ago from Toledo, so I'm pretty new to the working world.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, I was a project engineer, so I was in that role. I was out in the field running projects, and I didn't get a promotion per se. I got a kind of shift, like a lateral shift to a different type of work.
Yeah.
But my company is very, structured. It's very flat, so there's not really anywhere to move up or down. It's kind of just a big team. There are bosses, but I think there's like 3 levels, and I'd be the CEO. So there's not. So it does depend on what company you go for, because some of them might not be structured to get a promotion.
Yeah.
You might not always want a promotion as well.
Yeah,
There's some jobs you'll learn that I don't want to go do that.
Yeah.
And you're comfortable where you are. Promotion doesn't necessarily always mean more money either. So it's kind of getting comfortable, figuring out what you like and going to get that. And the better you are at something, the more money you're going to make. So just getting a promotion, it's kind of a tough question, but.
Yeah, because I was working for my company for 7 months, and I got my first raise. I didn't have to get a promotion to get a pay bump, but because I was engaged and doing well, you get rewarded for how you do.
And you get to learn a whole new skill set now, a different aspect of it, which makes you more valuable to that company or another one should you go on.
Exactly.
Yeah. Fantastic. Other questions? Yeah, for our Yes.
I have a question for Ben.
So,
You said that you run an estimating team in college.
Yeah.
What do you guys actually do as an estimating team?
Yes.
great
Estimating
question.
team.
I'm an
What is that?
estimator myself, that's why I asked, because I never heard of this before.
Who are you looking for?
I work for a low voltage cabling company out of
Okay.
Wall Lake, and we do
Oh, really?
And I'm an estimator project manager as well.
So on our estimating team, it's in the state of Ohio. There's a kind of professional organization that kind of hosts the competitions, and what it is each school that has a civil or construction program will put together like a 6-person team, and they have advisors from different businesses come in. So like ours was the CEO and a project manager of a re-steel company, and another couple people from a bridge contractor. They would have people volunteer their time to come in and kind of teach us how to read plans and proposals and kind of pull things out, do takeoffs, and put prices to them. So we would do probably once a week for 3 months. We would meet for a couple hours on Friday afternoon, and kind of really dig into what is estimating. How do you come up with that end unit price? And then the competition is it's a 2-day competition. The first day you go to a pre-bid meeting, which for people that don't know what pre-bid is, you go talk or you go meet with a client, and they kind of tell you about the project, and usually you get to go see the project, but they would show us pictures of the project, like the site and what was there right now, and then you get 8 hours to be in a room by yourself and bid the job. So most of them were like $1 million or $2 million, like road project or bridge project, or we did a boat ramp for like a DNR project. So you get 8 hours to figure everything out, show your work. They would give you quotes, and you'd have to figure out which quotes you wanted to use. You have to specify who you're using and stuff like that. And then you have a 5 o'clock deadline or something like that. You turn it in, and then they read the results. And then the next day you have to present on how you would build a project to a board of like 8 CEOs from huge companies all around Ohio. So then, depending on what order you fell in with the results, you would get to pick what time slot you wanted to. So you wanted to have the closest bid without being under what the actual job was bid for.
So these were completed jobs that you were bidding against to see where you show up on that.
Yeah. So then the next day, you pick your time slot, you try to be strategic, right after lunch, so everyone's gonna be nice and full and they won't be paying attention if I mess up, and stuff like that. So you get up there, you present, and then you sit down and you get they get 20 minutes to ask questions on, I see your calculation here, how did you come up with that, what were you thinking, how did you come up with this cost, and then you get scored on all of that.
Now your job is the opposite of that. You get a blank slate. You have to
Completely
figure it
opposite.
out.
Yep, and it's just me. I don't have 5 other guys helping me, but I get more time.
So basically a real world
It was real
thing
world.
that you're doing
Yeah, no, that was literally
as a competition.
my job.
Yeah.
You go to pre-bid, you get the plans and proposal, you sit down, try to figure it out, you get quotes from companies that supply stuff to you, and then you have to turn it in and hope that you're close. Or in my case, hope you're low, so you win the job.
There you go. Fantastic. Great questions. Other questions from our folks here? Yeah.
How long was the bridge that you made?
How long was the bridge that you made?
The one in the picture? Well, there's 3. So 2 of them were about 250 feet long, and then the big one that I was standing on was 550 feet.
Know how big that is? 250 feet.
It's
How
pretty.
how many football fields is that?
How many football fields? It's 7/8 of a football field.
300 feet football field.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's almost a full football field.
It's a long
big.
bridge.
Yeah.
Other questions that we have from our audience? Oh, yes.
This is mainly for Danielle. I don't know if you guys know anything about this. But so I'm gonna plan on going into engineering at Michigan Tech, and the guy-to-girl ratio is 10 to 1.
Okay.
And I was just wondering if you if you've ever experienced anything like that.
Yeah, Lawrence Tech is pretty close to 10-1, so.
It's not a good school, did
No, but honestly, in careers of science, STEM, math, that's a pretty common thing, that there are more men in the field than women. And I've been in that situation all the way from college into my career now. And in some ways, being an only woman in a field is a good thing. You know, again, finding pockets of how am I different? What kind of angle can I bring to things? I never found, being at Lawrence Tech an uncomfortable thing as a female, or even in the workforce today. I think, yeah, it's fun to get to hang out with the guys, and I thought, I didn't find it a problem at all. And again, if you're somebody who's looking to pursue a career in math or science, I think honing in on some of those more technical universities that are going to get right down to the point of what you want to do is a really good thing. Yeah, good.
Yeah, and there's a lot of like Society of Women in Engineering, all kinds of things. So again, especially going into a male-dominated field, those are the pockets that you want to seek out and learn from those professors who are, right there in it, and get a good mentor. Yeah, all kinds of stuff, and that's for anybody. But yeah, good question though.
The great thing about college is you're going to classes with people that are interested in all the same things you are. So if they're a guy or girl, it doesn't really matter. They're all interested in the same type of things. You all
Never did it before. Realized how important it was. So now, I network on a daily basis.
You just shake hands and give your business card to everyone.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Meet everyone.
Yeah.
Same kind of thing, I have a lot of different clients, that work with me with loans, and I have one particular instance where I was working with a gentleman who was having a really tough time getting a loan, and he was just not very nice, but his sister ended up helping him get that loan. He ended up not even going through with it, but his sister was so impressed with, how well we did. She kept back, and she's sent different people to me on multiple occasions, and so that's one way. And then actually, before I started here, I met one of the people who was working at Advia when I was serving over at Casey's, and he came in, and we would talk. Like he would come in for lunch, and we talked, and he's like, "Hey, here's my card." Because I told him I'm moving out to Kalamazoo and whatever job. He's like, "Oh, we got branches out there. Check it out." And so I did, and put his name in there. He gave me the recommendation, got it, and that's the story for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was you never know who's gonna change that. So just be kind to everyone you can, and
it's a really small world out there too. You never know when you're going to bump into somebody that, we worked together, or we knew each other here, and now some great opportunity came out of just running into somebody. So always kind of like taking that high road and being good to people and being a nice person and doing good things will pay off
Definitely.
exponentially. Yeah.
Yeah, I think networking, and really they always say it's about who you know, and absolutely your skills and everything are a big part of that too, but who you know can really get you in the door of a company, and you prove yourself later, and that's kind of how that works. So networking, definitely a great skill too. Yeah. Any other questions? Yes, that we have.
So speaking about networking, how important or not important would you say that like the college that you went to is in your networking methods?
It's up to you, because every college has customer service that will help. Some are probably better than others, but for the most part, if you go and you seek, you know what you want these internships, you want to, whatever you want to do, they'll help you. They'll give you an advisor, and they're very, everybody I've talked to, they said their college was so helpful. It's the reason I got the internship, which ultimately led to a job. So I think every school will definitely help. I'm not sure your guys' experience if it was better or worse.
The school you go to is, so for me, I went to Toledo. It's known for engineering. Half the school is engineers, so it graduates a lot of engineers every semester and they go out and do things, but when they come back to you know, attend alumni events or come to homecoming games or, you know, volunteer with different groups, they are coming back to help students, so that's a great way to network because they're there to get to know students and they know, you know, all of these different companies, all these different people. So like if you go to liberal arts school for something like engineering it's not known for it, you're not going to have that big alumni base that is in that same field that come back to get to know students.
Ben, can you also talk about the different organizations? You talked about your competition team, but how you network with the different organizations you belong to on campus and you're still using them?
Yeah. Like what?
Your fraternity.
Okay, yeah. So like I was in a fraternity for 4 years, and met I have 100 best friends that I call brothers because we're in the same fraternity. But half of them were engineers too, and they all went out and got jobs, and then they know people who are hiring, maybe at their company or at different companies. I was also a cheerleader for 3 years at the university. I started that to meet girls just like I did my business minor, and that one worked. But a lot of the people I met through that, and not just my teammates, but my coaches, other coaches, people from other parts of the university, the marketing department, or in other teams, like basketball team or football team. You get to meet all those people, so getting involved on campus, is a great way to network just because you are forced to meet, get to know people, and then they graduate, go do awesome things, and then, as long as you're still friends, they'll usually help you out. And that's the whole point of networking, is to be able to either help someone out or have someone help you out.
Yeah, and I can't say, in my experience, I've used a whole lot of it because I'm still working through it. But definitely, in any case, it's good to, meet as many people as you can and be friendly with as many people as you can.
Yeah, that's how I find most of my, panelists for some of these actually is, looking at who I went to school with. Some friends that I have have cool jobs, and I want them to come talk about it. So that's a way I use networking. And I do think some schools are better at it than others. But let's say you go to an interview and you're way out in, let's say I'm in the state of, a tiny place in the state of Washington, and they see that I'm a Western Michigan grad, and they're like, I was a Western Michigan grad. That is definitely something to kind of make that connection and get you in the door. That's just another way, yeah.
Yeah, I feel like with my career, there aren't a lot of universities that offer credential programs or things in that, and when I feel like where I went to school has made a difference, and like that first look of, oh, like LT has a really good reputation for this program, well, let's talk to her, they have a reputation for sending out graduates, good graduates out of that program. So I've had I think quite a few experiences, maybe because it's a more specialized career.
Oh, definitely. And it is about kind of what you do with it also.
Yeah.
You can't necessarily expect to just go to a school and have their name kind of carry you. Like, oh, well, I went to Michigan State, so I should get this. It's really about what you do on that campus. What else did you do besides going to class?
Right.
How did you work with a professor? Did you do this? Did you do that? So I think it can, again, help you get in the door, but it's really about what you bring that will help you later. So. Good question, though. Do you have another one? Yeah, what's your question? How much money do they make?
Not enough.
Not enough.
Not 90.
Never enough. No. If that's the only thing you're worried about, you're not, like, to your point earlier.
Yeah, don't chase the money, but definitely don't. But you are comfortable living. You're not living in your parents' basement right now, Ben.
It's true.
So that's usually a goal.
Sometimes I wish I was back in my parents' basement.
Yeah.
I mean, I was there for a little bit, and but I went on, and it was it was okay, so, that's great.
How much do you make?
Do you get allowance? No? Sometimes? You gotta work for it, right?
Well, we told our kids, it's just what you want to do with your life. If you're happy working at a gas station, that's fine. If you want to enjoy vacations and everything, you need to make more money.
Yeah.
You know, that's what kind of career you want. You know, whatever makes you happy. You need to be happy, and then everything else will kind of fall into place.
Yes, I mean, they've done studies about happiness and money, and it kind of peters out at around $50,000 a year, I think, is if your family makes that, then there's no increase in happiness if you go well above that.
And honestly, you know, if you love what you do, you're going to work harder for it, and then they're going to compensate you for that. Like if they can see that you enjoy your job and you're doing well, then you're going to fit right in. They're going to want to promote you. They're going to want to keep you around, so they can pay you more, so you'll get more money that way.
Yeah.
So.
Definitely. Great questions. All right, so there's a few other things I just want to point out before we kind of wrap things up. Some additional websites to consider that did not make it onto your flyer, but the one weuseMath.org is a fantastic website and resource. So if you are interested in math and all kinds of math careers, they have videos, they have career spotlights, they have all different kinds of things. So if you are like, well, what does an actuary do? They have a whole spiel about it, and you know, they'll tell you everything that they do, what it requires, etc.
Thank you for coming.
Oh, yeah. So let's give our panelists a round of applause.